brand spanking new MAN with the Apollo tyres backing has been parked. So it's a real shame because Shane Britton showed great pace in the first race, recovering again after he was involved in somebody else's tangle. But sadly, it rather looks as though that is going to be missing from the weekend, because even if they had not got it ready in time for the warm-up, I would have expected there would be people working hard upon it. So it's a great shame if Shane Britton is missing. Now, as far as the championship is concerned, after yesterday's results, it now means that Jochen Hahn, who has taken 7 victories this year, is getting even further ahead in the championship because he's outscored Steffi Halm in both races. Steffi was second. She then dropped to equal third. She's back up into second now. Antonia Albafetti yesterday in the second race was given a 5-second time penalty. So that in turn dropped him to 7th place rather than being 4th. And the irony was that when he went off the road at the chicane on the last lap and was deemed to have gained an advantage, he was being let past by the Portuguese driver, Jose Rodriguez. His fellow Iberian wasn't really fighting because he wasn't going for a podium, so he was letting Albafetti through. There was a bit of a miscommunication about which side the gap was going to be on. Antonio skipped off the road and back on again, but he was going to get the place anyway. Had it not been there, it would have been the last corner. But he was given a time penalty, and that put him to 7th in the end. So Antonio Albafetti drops back within the championship standings. 4th is Norbert Kish, who had a rotten day yesterday. Norby had a damper problem, a legacy of contact, because it was him that clipped Janiek and turned him around, and Janiek then got hit by Shane Britton. But Norbert Kish did get 3rd in the first race, so he is now 4th. Adam Lachko is 5th, 1 point back. And then 6th, Sasha Lentz, who's had 2 race wins this year. So that is how we look as far as the championship is concerned. In the Grammer Truck Cup, Ollie Janes continues to lead, but the lead is shrinking over now Louis Rethwenko, who is up into 2nd spot, and Jamie Anderson charging along behind in 3rd, scoring points whenever he can. He's now had 7 wins, in fact, in the Grammer Truck Cup. Fabio Citignola had a pretty dreadful day yesterday with 2 retirements. He's 4th ahead of Eduardo Rodriguez, and Thomas Robineau, who won in race 1 yesterday, he is now 6th. So in a few minutes' time, the trucks are going to be allowed out, and then, as I say, just 10 minutes to see who is going to be the fastest, who is going to get through into the Superpole. Superpole is when the pressure is really on for the front runners, because that, knowing how hard it is at certain places to overtake in a 2-ton truck, then you need to qualify as well as possible. And we'll find out whether it's going to be, yet again, Jochen Hahn, who has made something of a habit, really, of taking Superpoles this year. He has only once missed out, and that was at the opening weekend at Misano. Norby Kish took the equivalent Superpole that we're having now, the Sunday morning session. In the warm-up this morning, Norbert Kish was the fastest on a 1 minute 55.476. Yesterday, when we had them all out for qualifying and Superpole, Jochen Hahn did a 54.782. So Jochen Hahn not only took a win yesterday and then 3rd in the other race, the second race, but has underlined his speed courtesy of Superpole yesterday. We had a bit of rain here on Friday morning. It was dry all day yesterday, and it's bright and sunny and pretty warm already on this Sunday morning. The ADAC's Truck Grand Prix, always a huge event at the Nürburgring. And we've got a huge crowd yet again. It's not only the fans that come pouring in, it's also the manufacturers and their VIPs. All the truck brands have enormous structures here showing the latest trucks, looking after customers. And it's as much a race meeting as it is a showpiece for the industry. There was an industry symposium on Friday afternoon as well that was very well attended. So it's the whole truck industry, really, logistics, the vehicles and the racing. And one thing that the FIA European Truck Racing Championship has done this year is to introduce the hashtag One Truck Family to raise awareness of this relative lack of youngsters coming into truck and transportation industries, whether it's actually being an HGV driver, whether it's working for logistics companies, but there are job opportunities out there. And so the hashtag One Truck Family is to raise awareness of the opportunities in the industry for the young. Also, the FIA ETRC has launched its Road Heroes campaign for this season, which takes industry professionals, hosts them as VIPs over a race weekend. And this weekend, it's all female professionals coming from Iveco and Goodyear and Sven Walter Logistic, all partners of the FIA ETRC, and they are the Road Heroes. All about this you can read at fiaetrc.com, as well as the reports of yesterday and some pretty spectacular photographs of 2 spectacular races. There, looking down into the paddock, 75 you'll see, is Jennifer Janiek's truck. She is the sister of Anthony Janiek, although Anthony's truck is parked in a different element of the paddock, but they ran out of the same engineering stable. And the paddock, as you can see, absolutely full. Mercedes with a big presence in the background. MAN likewise. Iveco here, and so too Scania. So shortly, the circuit's going to get busy. Good to see people still flocking in for a day of 2 European races, the German Superbike Championship, and also the ADAC's Mittelrhein Cup, which effectively is a British championship round. There, the trucks now starting to edge their way out of the awnings in the paddock. They've not had that long, actually, since the warm-up session finished, so the team's having to be on their toes here to turn everybody around and get them back out again. The warm-up session finished at 9:20, so only about 40 minutes or so between the sessions. That's Irving Klein-Nagelvoort, who had dramas yesterday. He was stationary on the grid at the start of race 2's formation lap. Eventually, the truck did fire up. The start was delayed for him. He had to start from the pit lane as a consequence, but he worked his way up into 15th place. That's Jochen Hahn then, the championship leader and multiple European champion. 5 times he has been the champion. He has had 102 career wins. Last year he was the champion with 12. Well, he's had 7 wins already, so he's just looking unstoppable this year. There's Antonio Alberthetti in the background in the Truck Sport Lutz Bernau run MAN, the former Formula Ford, Formula 3, Formula 3000 racer, then went touring car racing, as most people seem to do in the super touring manufacturer era. Antonio had a spell for Opel, for BMW, and then Alfa Romeo, and came into truck racing in 03, triple champion, in fact. 84 wins he's had. And Antonio Alberthetti, always a huge draw at Jarama, was a winner here last year. We had 4 different winners across the 4 races last year. Can we do the same? We've had 2 so far out of 2. And last year he was 3rd in the championship, Antonio Alberthetti, 4 times a winner. But penalised in that 2nd race yesterday, which has not gone down very well. Some of the trucks you can see in the background are those from the Mittelrhein Cup, the British Championship. That round will be on track later on, and those teams having a bit of a lie-in, unlike the European squads, which have been up very early indeed, getting everyone out on track for the warm-up. And very shortly, down the pit lane they will come. The session due to start on time at 5 minutes past the hour this morning. As I say, Norbert Kish was the fastest, but 2nd quickest in the short shot warm-up session was Jochen Hahn. Adam Lachko 3rd. There he is in the background, number 55, the bonneted Freightliner of the Bagheera Racing squad. Jan Kaliboda's team arriving on the scene. It's a new truck for Adam Lachko for this year, and it's taken a while perhaps to really get it sorted. You could argue that it's still slightly flattering to deceive, because a reverse grid win is one thing, but doing it from a qualifying session on pure pace is another. But Adam Lachko 3rd this morning, Antonio Alberthetti 4th, Andre Kurzim 5th. Andre having had a bad start to the weekend when he retired with damage. A punctured tyre it was in race 1. And then Sascha Lentz 6th in the warm-up session this morning. The 2 Rev O'Connor trucks are there, of the Rodriguez father and son. But showing intent, isn't he here? Jochen Hahn, first out, ready to go. And down the pit lane, he will be allowed to come in a moment. So Jochen Hahn, whose son made his truck racing debut on Friday and finished 3rd. He had his 2nd ever race yesterday and finished 2nd, showing that he's going to be just as good as Dad, potentially. There is Steffi Halm, 2nd in the championship. Antonio Alberthetti drives number 23. That's the bonneted Freightliner of Adam Lachko, convert from car racing like Alberthetti. There you've got number 14, another occasional car racer, Jose Rodriguez, his father Eduardo behind him. Number 15 is Irving Klein-Nagelvoort in the almost barren liveried white Scania, but having his first event in this year's ETRC. Out he comes ahead of 27, the returning Gert Korber, who only does part seasons nowadays but always does this event, Anthony Janiek. Then 64 is Luis Rojenko, another of the Iberian drivers on the grid. 20 Theo Calve, who was here straight from his baccalaureate exams last year, drove really well in race 2 yesterday. That's Terry Gibbon ahead of Clemens Hecker as they come out onto the pit apron. down to the pit out line, and then they will form up ready for Tony Idden, the race director, to give the call. That's looking down from the Hyundai curve, and you see the field pouring down the pit road. In the background, Jamie Anderson ventures out, also Fabio Cittignola. Fabio, who has been racing in Clios and Audi R8s as well as trucks this year. Ollie Jane's bonneted Freightliner comes out. There's René Reinert, who was caught up in a skirmish in race 1. And the Volvo there of Franck-Conti, good to have that on the grid. He's a regular in the French Championship, 6th in the French Series last year. And Franck-Conti with the Volvo from Team TCS has had a 20th and a 19th thus far. So there they all are then at the end of the pit lane. And let us see whether this is going to pan out to be a 7th pole for Jochen Hahn, or is it going to be a different driver? We only had Hahn and Kish taking pole position this year. We are good to go, pretty much. We are about a minute and a half away from the light going green at the end of the pit lane, and then everybody being released out onto the circuit. The technical team there, the ADAC's marshals in the pit lane, making sure that everybody is in the right place. And so remember, that time to beat from Norby Kish this morning, 1:55.476. That's Sascha Lentz, a bit late on parade because he got stuck behind Heinz-Werner Lentz's recovery vehicle there, which is an enormous truck to be stuck behind, no question about it. So Sascha Lentz scampers down the pit lane, but he's going to be out last. Now, is that going to be a good thing because he can let everybody else go and buy himself the clear track space? Antonio Albacete, knowing that if he really goes for it, he might get himself onto pole position, and that's important given the run to the first corner. So Jochen Hahn, ready to go. He is the master of not just qualifying, but truck racing. If you beat Jochen Hahn, you know you've done well. He is beatable, but he certainly has proved to be the top man over the last couple of 3 seasons. And with this virtually works Iveco, with all the tricks on it, it's a pretty formidable combination. That truck, that team, that driver. There you can see the rest of the field all queued up, ready to go. So soon as the indication is given from the race director, then the lights will go green, and don't expect them to go storming out, because really what they want to do is a very gentle lap to keep the tyres fresh, then do one quick lap, try and get everything hooked up, and that will, they hope, serve the Superpole top 10. So by the look of it, they're going to be waved out in the order that they finished yesterday's session. I'll tell you a lie, because Sascha Lentz now goes into a different parking space, but the session is live anyway, so out they come, and it is Jochen Hahn out first, and in fact, everybody on their toes pretty much. Look, they all go storming out, 1 or 2 almost overlapping, but the marshals have given up on trying to restore an order. They're just letting them go now. The session is live. So it is Jochen Hahn number 1 in the Iveco that leads the MAN of Iveco rather of Steffi Helm, then the MAN of Antonio Albacete. And you see that they come gently out onto the circuit. "25 rigs we should have, and I fear it's only going to be 24 given the absence today of Shane Brereton." So the field comes through. In the background, Jamie Anderson there, trying to gain track position in the white and blue rig, coming up now to turn 2. Jamie, who's had a great run in the Grammar Truck Cup this year with his MAN. That's Ollie Jane's Freightliner, the bonneted Freightliner going through. At the rear of the field is Clemens Hecker, number 25. 1 or 2 more behind him as Thomas Robineau goes through there, the French driver, who comes from a good racing family. His father, Pascal Robineau, a former European front runner and French champion, and Thomas Robineau, based in Le Mans, started truck racing in '09, and 3 times a French champion. He's also done so a little bit of gravel that hopefully will now be brushed aside by the trucks as they start to push. Jamie Anderson being spectacular in the background, but it's almost like there's a full course yellow or a safety car situation. It is not. It is purely that they just want a slow start-up lap ready to go for a time. Keeping an extra set of tyres is not really the answer, because it takes so long to change them. So what they want is the tyres to be as fresh as possible for Superpole. So don't take undue life out of them. Just go for it on that one flying lap. We are down to already 7 minutes of the session remaining, so 3 minutes for an outlap. They only get 10 minutes anyway. It's a very, very short, sharp session. And really, it's a one-shot showdown. Here we go. Jochen Hahn is going to be first across the timing line then. In number 1, the Iveco storms over the line, chased by Steffi Halm. And it's going to be, of course, Jochen that lights up the timing screen because he's the first man into each of the sectors. So down towards the first corner goes the Sven Walter Logistic-backed Iveco. Turns his way through that right-hander. Behind is Steffi Halm. Everybody trying to make sure they don't get caught up behind the traffic. Up now towards that long, long left at turn 2 into turn 3 goes Jochen Hahn. And of course, he's bought himself the clear track space, using a little bit of curb on the outside, but that's all good. Remember, it's a different way of driving, a different feel to how everything looks as well in track racing because of the size, because of the speed. Therefore, you can't dart around the road like you can in the car. And always, having gone well in truck racing, people from motorbike racing, where the balance is absolutely vital. Down to the hairpin now. Of course, the current iteration of a racing truck means they're not quite as flamboyantly driven as they used to be. Sideways used to be good. Not anymore. You've got to be smooth. Beam at the end of sector 2. There's Hahn just kicking up the dirt on the outside of the chicane. And Hahn has pulled it back, in fact, on the middle sector, quicker than Norby Kirsch. So here they come up towards the timing line. We are at the halfway point of qualifying before we get to Superpole. 5 minutes down, 5 minutes to go. So Jochen Hahn is going to go to the top, and he's probably going to stay there as well, looking at what's being done in sectors behind him. So Hahn's time is a 1:55.4, Steffi Halm a 55.5. Norbert Kish will go through in a moment. Antonio Alberthetti has gone second, but he misses out on the top time. Norbert Kish does go quickest, 1:55.175. That's 3/10 up on Hahn. That's good. That's really good. Adam Lachko was 5th, but Sasha Lentz has just gone second, so Jochen Hahn pushed a bit further down the pack now. This is going to make the Superpole very interesting, that's for sure. Jochen Hahn not quite eventing the pace that he would want to early in the morning here. So it's Kish, Lentz, Hahn, Alberthetti, René Reiner 5th, Steffi Halm 6th, Adam Lachko 7th, Luis Rothrenko up to 8th. No, he's not. Get Korber is up to 8th, Rothrenko is 9th, 10th is Rodriguez. And a change coming, is it? Because we expect Andre Kurzim to have a go, but Kurzim is still being shown as in the pit lane. Yes, so Andre Kurzim has not yet gone out. He's either leaving it very late or he's got a problem, but I think Kurzim might be in strife here for whatever reason. So it is Anthony Janiak up to 9th, Rothrenko 10th, that pushes Rodriguez out of the top 10. There, 27 is Gert Korber, who is 8th fastest. And you see that now they've done a time, they all back off and look after the rubber, hoping they've done enough to get into Superpole. Those that don't really have a realistic chance are still pushing because they want to secure 11th, which is the best. Alberthetti and Hahn and Lachko and Kish and Halm and Jose Rodriguez thinks about it but stays out. Andre Kurzim is on the circuit, so he's going to leave it late, but he's going to have a go. Also staying out, Terry Gibbon, the British driver. Irving Klein-Nagelvoort has gone by. He's currently 19th fastest. Yeah, the other one that's not gone out is Fabio Citignola. Fabio Citignola, number 24 from Tankpool Ference Fansig, not going out. Shane Britton we'd kind of accounted for. Now, what about Citignola this morning? He did go out, but he hasn't made it onto the circuit in this session, intriguingly. Why is that, I wonder? I can't even see the truck in the pit lane. So there, Jose Rodriguez carries on. And the session starts to come to an end. Rodriguez staying out there. So Rodriguez back into Superpole. Out is Rothrenko. Anybody else to improve? Jamie Anderson goes by, he's 15th. Terry Gibbon with a bit of damage maybe, he's 14th. There's the flag. And in the background is that Robino that comes out of the Hyundai curve. The other one we need a time for is Andre Kurzim. This could change things around a little bit. So over the line goes Robino. That's Klein-Nagelvoort in the background. Behind Klein-Nagelvoort you see It is the Eduardo Rodriguez MAN. Behind him is Ollie James. Curzim has done, obviously, with his first flying lap, personal bests in sectors, but the bright yellow truck of Andre Curzim then for the Don't Touch racing team, the yellow Iveco, is the one that's going to perhaps have an impact on Jose Rodriguez's chances of staying in Superpole, and Curzim goes second. Andre Curzim, second fastest, 1:55.324, left it late, did one flying lap, and Andre Curzim goes second. Rodriguez gets dumped out of Superpole as well. But Andre Curzim, a 10th down on his old teammate, Norbert Kish. They used to run together at Tankpool Vierundzwanzig, but that's a really good effort by Andre Curzim. Was out late, either with a problem or by design, but he has absolutely nailed it, and that means that he goes second to Norbert Kish. And Fabio Citignola, we understand, is having a gearbox change after the warm-up, so he will hopefully have it done for the race, but we'll have to start from the back of the grid. So more drama for Fabio Citignola. He retired from both races yesterday, and again he misses against Albacete, behind Jochen Hahn, and ahead of Ronnie Reiner 6th. 7th is Steffi Halm, 8th is Adam Lachko, 9th fastest is Gert Korber, and to round out the top 10 is Anthony Janiak. 11th, missing out, Jose Rodriguez. 12th, Luis Rathwenko from Thomas Robineau and Theo Calve. 15th is Terry Gibbon from Jamie Anderson and Ollie James. And it's Eduardo Rodriguez, the gravel-ensnared Francis Wojciech, 19th, ahead of Erwin Klein-Nagelvoort and Franck Conti. 22nd is Clemens Hecker, forgive me, 23rd, Jennifer Janiak. And the two missing are Fabio Citignola and the one that we are not expecting to see, sadly, today, Shane Britton, after the damage done to not so much the bodywork, but the mechanicals of the truck yesterday. The diff, I think, took a huge clout. It's a brand new truck, and I think the team have decided that enough damage is enough for its shakedown weekend. So now everybody in the pit lane will be put into order, and it's Norbert Kish that's got track position then. It's worth, I said at the start of the session, it's about not being slow. Equally, you do want a good time because that's the order you're released in for Superpole. That's Franck Conti's visiting Volvo that comes down the pit lane out of the French Championship. Good to see one of the private teams taking on the Europe regulars. Francis Wojciech, having missed his braking point, way off in the gravel. And so that truck now needing to be retrieved. But it's not an easy operation to do. Francis Wojciech, who came into the sport in the late 1980s, in the days when the European Championship was divided into different. Norbert Kish, the fastest. Andre Curzim behind. And what can Jochen Hahn do now? Because he's looking at being on the second row of the grid, unless he can find a big chunk of time and get himself faster than the likes of Kish and Curzim. So Norby ready to go. Number 5, Norbert Kish, who came from the Hungarian Opel Astra Cup about 14 years ago. Following year, he was the Hungarian Clio champion, and then he had back-to-back Seat Leon titles and the Suzuki Cup. So he was for 4 years on the bounce, a one-make saloon car champion. He also did some Formula Renault racing, moved to trucks in 2011, and has had a far higher profile in Hungary racing trucks, successfully a double European champion than ever he did in car racing. Andre Curzim, the man behind. Carter turned VLN racer, but Andre Curzim came into truck racing in 2014 as a teammate to Norbert Kish, spent 3 seasons there before going to the Don't Touch racing team and had a win at Le Mans last season. In the background you see Anthony Janiak's truck, which is 10th fastest, so the French champion. Recovery of Wojciech's truck continues, one assumes. There's no start time offered on the message line on the timing screen as yet. So Superpole is ready to go in terms of the trucks, and they're all in the pit lane in the right order. What we haven't yet got is the track clearance with František Wojciech's rig still in the gravel, but the ADAC's officials working hard to try and clear the situation. And then as soon as possible, we will be underway. Jochen Hahn yesterday taking a 60th career pole position as well, but let's find out who's going to take it this morning. The Super Pole contest shortly to get underway as the top 10 from that qualifying session prepare to do battle there. In terms of the different brands that have raced over the years, MAN has in the recent history of the European Championship, as an FIA European Truck Racing Series, had the most number of starts, but also the most number of wins, 252 to MAN. But if you go back to the very early days, it was the European Truck Racing Organisations Championship. The first champion being Rod Chapman in his Ford Cargo back in 1985. Those were the days when you had different horsepower categories. And you'd have the point-scoring races and also some non-championship all-in grand finals as you went through the weekend. And quite often there'd be a few ringers that were brought in and unhooked, and they'll try it from a different angle. But Wojciech, overseeing this, the last thing he wants is for the recovery team to suddenly wreck the front of the truck. So just as on the road, there's a specialist industry recovering trucks. It's the same in race trim. And you've even got a guy who has a truck recovery business, Ray Coleman, racing in the Mittelrhein Cup, the British Series. Now, where's the Lentz truck gone? In theory, it should now be trying to reverse towards that. But the danger is that's going to get stuck in the gravel if it's not careful. So Wojciech's done a good job here of doing unspeakable things to the timetable. The race director will be a bit grumpy at this point because this is all eating into the day, delaying everything. Right, so I think that's actually Wojciech's team that have come to try and help with the recovery of this. So how do they get him out of there? What they need is a sturdy part of the truck. And so now the officials can hopefully hook everything onto the truck. Frankie Wojciech looks on. František Wojciech still with his helmet on. Official talks to race control. After this should be the Mittelrhein Cup race. But we've lost about 10 minutes here because of the delay, and we're going to lose a bit more, I fear, before everything is underway again. Lots of gravel bounced into the front of the MAN as it went off the road, as you can see. Wojciech had a spin in the qualifying session yesterday, got a 17th in the first race, and he got a 21st in the second. So it wasn't a stellar day, but let's hope that things improve today. Is it going to lift? Is it going to lift? Is it going to lift? It's up. And it moves. So Wojciech's truck doesn't help life. Yeah, the Manitou is struggling a little bit now. Got it, got a bit of traction, go, go, go. Well, Super Pole is underway, so while they get this through the gap, we have the Super Pole session underway, and the reason being that the race director is content. It's so far off the road now. We'll let them worry about that on their own. So here they come. The top 10 we had from qualifying now fight it out. They'll probably get 2 runs in this because there's just about enough life in a set of tyres and the length of the lap for it to be a slow out lap, a flyer, a cool down lap, and another run. So it's going to be Norbert Kish to try and hang on to the top of the times. It's the time you get here that counts for the grid, so what went before is only of interest. The order is going to be interesting as well to see who goes where, but there is Kish then out on track. Andre Kurzin with a ripper start to the day, second fastest time. Anthony Janiak has just gone down the pit lane, in a sense, late, but of course what he has done is give himself a whole load of clear track space as Norbert Kish then comes now down towards the hairpin. Fascinating to look, just as they're on their outlap, at the winners that we've had at the Nürburgring over the last 15 years or so. Go back to 06, you had Markus Bösigers, MAN, as a winner, and Gert Korber had a victory as well. A year later, Bösiger and Adam Lachko for Freightliner were the winners. Keep on going. The names now become rather more familiar. In 2015, Kish, Albacete, Kish, Lachko. In 2016, Hahn, Halm, Lachko, Lachko. 2017, Lachko, 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 and we didn't get a 4th race because oil was spilt in an earlier race, and that was the end of it. So the event had to be abandoned. And then last year, as I say, we had these 4 different winners: Albacete, Halm, Hahn, and Janiak. That was his last win, in fact, Anthony Janiak here 12 months ago. So onto a flying lap they have gone, and Norbert Kish, the first man through. Sascha Lenz just goes down towards turn 1, but there's Norbert Kish then on the limit, pushing, pushing, pushing. Through turn 2, he turns then, the truck leaning on its suspension. Andre Kurzin behind for Sven Walter's Don't Touch Racing squad. Team so named to try and encourage clean racing, but yesterday the German driver got caught up in an accident round about here on the first lap, suffered a puncture, and if you've got a flat tyre in truck racing, you're history, because there's no way you're going to change them and get back in the race. These aren't the 2.4 second stops you see in Formula 1, for example. There is Sascha Lenz pressing on. Sascha Lenz coming down towards the hairpin, Jochen Hahn behind. Jochen giving himself lots of clear track space, but is he going to be able to get the pole position time? Norbert Kish, so far, quickest in Sector 1 as Lenz goes a little up the curb, but you see there's not the sideways in this that you often see in the racing because they are having to be so precise and so smooth, and Hahn is the quickest within Sector 1, only by hundreds, but Jochen Hahn has done it in Sector 1. He's the fastest so far, so perhaps people got false hope after the qualifying session. Now we're into Super Pole and the really serious bit of the morning. 2:19.290 over second up on Norbert Kish on his first run. So Jochen Hahn goes to the top of the times. Jochen faster than anybody on that first run. Antonio Albacete goes 3rd, won't be happy with that. René Reinert in the blue MAN goes 5th. Steffi Halm is now 5th ahead of Reinert. What about Adam Lachko? 4th. So Adam Lachko there or thereabouts. It is Hahn, Kish, Albacete, Lachko, Halm, Reinert, Lenz, Kurzin, and we haven't yet got a time from Korber or from Janiak. But there is Jochen Hahn, who looks as though it's going to be pole 61 and a 7th of the year, unless anybody gets another shot and goes quicker. Backs it right off though, straight away, in order to look after the tyres. It's looking a bit hot and smoky, you've got to say, out of the back, but Jochen Hahn has worked it hard over that one lap. There's Albacete, who is still staying out and looking perhaps to go for another lap. So Norbert Kish, fast, but not fast enough. This is a slow lap. He's about 19 seconds down in the first sector as he has a slow, slow lap, ready to have one more run at this. So Kish was fastest and he's now 2nd. Kurzin was 2nd and he is 8th. He's got to have another run. That's Albacete. He was 5th in qualifying. He's gone up to 3rd, so he's got it right. The other, of course, beneficiary is Jochen Hahn. There is Lenz, Sascha Lenz, 3rd and now 7th, so he's gone backwards. He needs another run. Right at turn 4, where we had drama yesterday. In fact, most corners gave drama yesterday, to be fair. But here, with the rig leaning on the suspension, a good tight line employed by Sasha Lentz. You see how smooth you've got to be here to try and wring the most out of the track. Run wide out of turn 4. You can use the runoff a little bit there, keep up the momentum, and then down to the hairpin comes Lentz. Is this going to be better in the first sector? Keeping an eye to the time. The first sector is completed when you come out of the hairpin, so he's on the power. He'll go a little bit wide up the curb. That's fine. He's not sideways, and he has done a personal best. Sasha Lentz should be an improver. He won't get onto a Jochen Hahn type pace, but it's looking pretty good nonetheless. Turns his way now downhill out of the Bilstein curve, and Gert Körber also starting to do improved sector time, so he should be another improver. Jochen Hahn has backed out of it, so has Lachko, so has Janiak, although maybe they're going for the run on the next lap, and this is going to get in the way of Lentz, isn't it? Sasha Lentz, if he's not careful, he's going to be delayed. Anthony Janiak is ahead of him, and he needs to speed up and or get out of the way. Sasha Lentz is on a quick lap, and Janiak is going to be right in the way. Sasha Lentz has to go to the inside, but look, he's got 3 slow trucks. Lentz's lap is in danger here of being ruined. That is Adam Lachko keeping out of the way, but he's about to start a flying lap, so he wants to build up the pace now. Is Lentz going to have been compromised then by Janiak? Let's see. Hahn is going for it now, so is Lachko. What about the Lentz lap? It's an improvement that puts him 4th then. Sasha Lentz does go up the order. He goes 4th. Gert Körber is 9th on his first flying lap of the session. So Sasha Lentz possibly impeded by Janiak, but if it was only by fractions of a second. So they had 2 slow laps, the other drivers, and they're going for it. Forced down in sector 1, and so also is Lachko, and so also is Hahn. Interestingly, it's not working for them. Norbert Kish has bailed. He's pitted. He's content with 2nd on the grid, then a front row start for Norbert Kish. So Jochen Hahn totting up the figures here, going for a 61st pole, a 7th of the season. There is Adam Lachko in the red, white and blue, the Czech national colours, coming up towards the chicane in the Freightliner. So the Bagheera Racing Ram rig turns now into the left, into the right. Sasha Lentz is still behind. Is anybody else going to be an improver? Janiak's done a personal best in sector 1, but interesting, isn't it, that Hahn and also Lachko on this lap not able to do anything about their earlier best time. Go out, do the time straight away. It's the case in qualifying, it's the case in Superpole. The flag is out, and so through comes number 1, Jochen Hahn. That lap had an improvement in the last sector, but he was 2/10 down on his earlier best. What about Adam Lachko? No improvement. Antonio Albacete is still out there, but he's not improved in the sectors either. So Albacete will have to start on row 2. What about Janiak? It was a 56.578, but he stays 10th fastest. So no improvement for Anthony Janiak, therefore. So Jochen Hahn it is that's the fastest. And the order shuffled somewhat from what we had in qualifying. Andre Kurzim, the one that's lost out big time in all of that, actually, because he was 2nd. He's now only 8th. So Jochen Hahn, 8th, and that's 10th. Anthony Janiak, then, who is the reigning French champion. He does part seasons within the championship, and it's good to have him on the grid this weekend. So there you've got Sasha Lentz, but the man of the morning, the man of the moment is Jochen Hahn, number 1. He is the fastest, and he will start on pole position for the 7th time this year and for the 61st time in his career. Excellent job done then by Jochen Hahn. There, the top 10 at the end of Superpole. Jochen Hahn is the fastest from Norbert Kish, Antonio Albacete 3rd. 4th fastest Sasha Lentz ahead of Adam Lachko, and then Steffi Halm. René Reinert 7th. 8th Andre Kurzim. 9th Gert Körber, and the top 10 rounded out by Anthony Janiak. That will be the first 5 rows on the grid. Jochen Hahn, yet again, the man to beat. So the first of the FIA ETRC races here on the live stream will be getting underway at 12:30 local time, and it's nearly 11:15 local time at the moment, if you want to set your watch. The live stream shortly will show the 3rd and final Mittelrhein Cup race of the weekend, but we'll look forward then to action when we get to the European Championship race at 12:30. The second race, by the way, will be at 4:20 this afternoon. We'll see you for that later on. For now, from David Addison at the Nürburgring, goodbye.
Aufgrund von der Flugbehälternorm und bevor er verschrottet wird, haben wir gedacht, wenn wir immer gerne an den Tag